from there. So there we go. Um, First, I want to say thank you so much to all of you for taking some time out of your day to come listen to me talk about the White Rose Leadership Institute and some of the fun things that we've had going on and that we will have going on. So everyone who was invited here today is either touches or is touched by the White Rose Leadership Institute in some way. Maybe you are a supporter. Thank you so much. Maybe you're a York Federal Fellow alumni. Maybe you're a nonprofit leader who participates in Give Local, or maybe you're all of the above and then some. But I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. To give you a little bit of context around this strategic plan, this is the first time in our 5-year history now that we have done any sort of internal strategic planning. And really the last 2 years internally at White Rose Leadership Institute, we've been really focused on beefing up our governance, beefing up our sort of foundational kind of stuff. We called it ghosting, getting our stuff or, an other S word together. So we've spent the past couple years trying to get it together from a foundational standpoint. And last year, when we went through my first ever executive director evaluations with the board, we realized that we didn't really have anything to measure ourselves against. And so that led us into the process of developing the strategic plan, really getting some things down on paper so that we have a North Star that we can head towards and something that we can always use to hold ourselves accountable. So the process for this strategic plan for us was done internally, as I say. So one of our board members, Jason Lewis, who serves as our treasurer, is also a fundraising consultant, works with organizations all across the country. And so he took us through the strategic planning process by interviewing the board, surveying the board, having conversations. From those conversations, he came back with some recommendations that were presented to us in December. And then we took those recommendations and turned them into goals, and then outlined some objectives and some tasks below that. So what I would like to share with you today is that summary, the outline of what we came up with, the recommendations and the goals, and what we're going to be working through here at White Rose Leadership Institute. So can everyone see my screen? We're good, thumbs up, yes, all right. So here we go. Those of you that aren't familiar with our mission is to strengthen the York County nonprofit sector with empowered and exceptional leaders prepared to transform our community. And the way that we are striving to do that, again, is through these 4 goals. I'll sort of give you a top level overview and then we can dive in a little bit deeper to each goal. And then I'm happy to answer any questions that might come up along the way. So goal number 1 is to ensure that York County has the advantage of confident and capable nonprofit leaders. Goal number 2 is to ensure that donors are increasingly responsive to the needs of our community. Goal number 3 is to ensure that we are creating partnership with those whose operations align with our own. And then goal 4 is to ensure the sustainability of the organization, the programs, focusing on revenue and capacity building. So those are the big 4 that we're going after. Most of them, with the exception of 1, are things that we have been working on. So hopefully nothing new or earth-shattering here or anything that sounds kind of out of line. But we're going to do these. We're going to work towards these goals in a few different ways. So let me zoom in here if I can get my mouse to operate with me. We'll come in here on goal 1. So we can take a look here. Ensure that York County has the advantage of confident and capable leaders. Many of you are familiar that we have the York Federal Fellows nonprofit leadership program. That is actually the sort of very start of where we came from with White Rose Leadership Institute. So 2006 was the first year of York Federal Fellows that matriculated. That fellowship program awards $5,000 to leaders in nonprofits, government or educational organizations to design their own professional and personal development plan. And as the years have gone by, we now have more than 70 York Federal Fellow alumni, nonprofit leaders who have gone through this program. And so goal one is really focused on the York Federal Fellows program in general. So through two objectives, the leadership development programming, so beefing up that York Federal Fellows program and identifying opportunities for other programming in that sort of area, and then networking and collaboration as objective two. So let's look over objective one here, leadership development programming. The first is to identify solutions to make the York Federal Fellows program self-sufficient and properly managed. By way of a little bit of backstory, from 2006 through 2019, the York Federal Fellows program was managed by the York County Community Foundation because this was established as a donor advised fund, or it has morphed into a donor advised fund by Mr. Pulo and the York Federal Savings and Loan Foundation. In 2019, when White Rose Leadership Institute officially got its 501c3 status and was chugging along, heading into our we just completed our second, heading into our third year of Give Local York, the York County Community Foundation reached out and asked if we'd like to take this program in-house under our wing. So we have been managing the York Federal Fellows program, starting with the class of 2020. So really, we were thrown for a loop there from the beginning. We haven't had really, a quote unquote normal year of fellowship really since we've taken it over. So this goal one is really focusing on that program itself and making sure we're giving it the attention it deserves. The second under that objective is to establish mentoring and coaching initiatives to support emerging leaders within the nonprofit sector. The York Federal Fellows program is really sort of, I equate it to kind of like grad school. It's for more senior leaders, but we realize that there's a major gap for emerging leaders or those who are sort of moving up the ladder, if you will. So that's an area we'd like to address. Also conduct regular needs assessments to identify evolving leadership skill requirements and then adapt programs accordingly. And the fourth under this is to forge partnership with educational institutions and professional organizations to enhance leadership training opportunities. We have some really great organizations doing really great work for our nonprofit sector here in York County. And you'll see this theme sort of running throughout our strategic plan is, how can we reach out to and cooperate and collaborate with some of these other organizations for greater impact for our community. Under the networking and the collaboration piece, hosting regular networking events, workshops, forums to facilitate collaboration and knowledge sharing. We've dipped our toe into this a bit with some different workshops and also with our nonprofit support group happy hour, which started last year. That's a quarterly series where folks who work in nonprofits are invited to just come and have a safe space to share and brain dump and lots of hopeful natural partnerships and collaborations can come out of that relationship building. The second is to create a digital platform to foster an online community for continuous communication and collaboration. We have created a Google group for all of our York Federal Fellows and separate Google groups for every cohort of York Federal Fellows so that there's an easy way for everyone to communicate with each other, to share upcoming opportunities or maybe job postings that organizations are looking to fill. So again, sort of already dipping our toes into these arenas, but looking for further opportunities to do so. Again, this theme of partnership, establish strategic alliances with other leadership development organizations to expand resources and opportunities, and to facilitate cross-sector partnerships to encourage collaboration beyond the nonprofit sector. So collaborations between nonprofits, the business community, and government entities, and also start to focus more on advocacy and advocating for the nonprofit community in York County. And if you attended the really great presentation a few weeks ago that was hosted by the York County Community Foundation, where the results from the Sangfa consultant study that was done to present the sort of snapshot of the nonprofit landscape in York County, you'll hear that was very validating to hear that it seems like we're on the right track with the strategic plan. If you haven't been able to check out that report or the results, it is available from the homepage of the York County Community Foundation website. There's a really great dashboard that gives you all sorts of information. But one of the key recommendations out of that study was for York County, specifically the York County nonprofit sector, to begin advocating much stronger for ourselves and having a voice that represents our nonprofit community among our legislators. So that is goal 1 and those objectives underneath. Does anyone have questions specifically under this column, or I can just keep moving and we can take some questions at the end? Anyone? All right, awesome. Then we'll move into goal 2, if I can, again, get my mouse to cooperate. All right, goal 2, ensure donors are increasingly responsive to the needs of our community. This is the goal I mentioned that is a little bit of a new piece for us. We were really started sort of by nonprofits for nonprofits, with nonprofits always being our, our major audience. But we've realized, as we head into our 7th year of Give Local York, we really do have the attention of a lot of donors in York County. And we realize that there's a role that we can play in sort of being the connector between the nonprofit and the donors, and to help make sure that we're responsive to donor needs, but also that the donors are aware of our nonprofit's needs. So objective 1, donor education and engagement. This will start with targeted outreach programs to educate donors on the specific needs of York County and York County nonprofits. We dabbled in this a bit during COVID. We took surveys several times of our nonprofit community so they could share their immediate needs with us, and then we shared that with the community. So we're envisioning a similar sort of approach where we're listening to the nonprofits and then being able to amplify those needs out to the community to sort of forge that connection. The second is to develop personalized donor engagement strategies based on donor preferences and interests. And that dovetails into the third one, utilize donor analytics to track donor behavior and preferences, adjusting strategies accordingly. We, to date, do not have a real CRM system. We've been, collecting data, 6 years worth of Give Day data, and analyzing it via spreadsheets. So we are very much focused on engaging with the CRM system this year and really being able to dive into this treasure trove of donor information that we've been collecting, and then using that knowledge for good, of course, to figure out how to reach and engage these donors and help connect with them and the nonprofit community. And then the fourth is to implement a feedback mechanism for donors to share their experiences and suggestions for non-monetary engagement, which sort of takes us over here. Oh, no, sorry, that was under 2, which I'll hop to ahead here. 1, 2, these donor engagement strategies based on donor preferences and interests. Donor, here we are. All right, got it. Organize regular donor appreciation events to strengthen relationships and to showcase the impact of their contributions. So the idea is sort of in the similar way that we celebrate the nonprofits on Give Day, that we're making sure to celebrate our donors too, and recognize the impact of their actions. I will share that we are co-hosting a York Revolution game in August with the United Way of York County, and are looking to make that a donor appreciation event, volunteer appreciation event. So starting to find ways to celebrate the folks that are supporting us as the nonprofit community. So education and engagement in 1, and objective 2, which I spoiled a bit there, was to increase donor engagement in non-monetary ways. So creating opportunities for donors to engage with the nonprofit community by volunteering, by site visits, by other ways. We have, through our use of the GiveGab platform, who has run our Give Day site for the past, from the beginning, they have been bought out by a larger software company called Bonterra. And Bonterra has access to now all sorts of platforms, Every Action CRM, Network for Good, Benevity, Paylocity, and Mobilize, which is a volunteer management platform. So we will be adding in this volunteer management technology piece to our operations so that we can start connecting people to volunteer opportunities and helping our nonprofits spread the word about volunteer opportunities that they have available. Developing educational workshops for donors to understand the broader impact of their non-monetary contributions. So sort of check-ins and letting them see really what impact they can have by giving back to nonprofits, both monetarily and non-monetarily. These recognition programs that highlight and celebrate their non-financial contributions, so celebrating volunteers, and then that feedback mechanism so that we're listening to donors and taking that into account as we continue to build out those programs. So that is goal 2, specifically focused on the donors in our community. Any questions under that column before I hop to 3? Okay. Goal 3, as I said, this sort of partnership and collaboration piece really permeates throughout our strategic plan, so much so that it is a specific goal of ours right now, and moving forward is to find these opportunities for alignment and partnership. So, you know, I don't believe it's been any secret, you know, from the beginning of our organization, we've been engaged in conversations with various different organizations across the county to find ways that we could be working together, especially when we were a staff of 1, just me. Now that we're a big staff of 2, these conversations continue because, you know, we know that we could have so much more impact when we're working together. So objective 1 under this partnerships goal is really about identification and assessment of potential partners. So really conducting comprehensive assessment of potential partners to make sure that the alignment is there with mission and values. Working with our executive committee, we've been trying to come up with official sort of criteria that we're looking for that we can use when we're selecting and evaluating our strategic partners. Looking to develop a partnership strategy that really focuses on mutual benefit and long-term sustainability between all partners, and then fostering relationship with key stakeholders to be able to identify those partnership opportunities, both within and then also beyond the nonprofit sector. So back to that idea of sort of cross-sector collaboration. All of this is kind of saying we're open to it and we're out here waving our flag for partnerships to come our way. Objective 2 under this is partnership development and maintenance. So really creating a dedicated team whose responsibility it is to either cultivate those new partnerships, or ideally, you know, once those partnerships have been begun, to be the ones to sort of manage and always be evaluating those partnerships. Implementation of a communication plan to keep all of the partners informed about the Institute's activities and impact. Sharing information like this today, our strategic plan with you know, partners and potential partners. Again, regularly evaluating and assessing those partnerships. And then exploring these collaborative projects or initiatives that we might then be able to strengthen partnerships that already exist or bring in new partnerships together to maximize impact. So our 3rd goal in our strategic plan is really about collaboration and looking to find partners and making them the best partnerships they can be. Anything specific on goal 3? All right, cool. Then I'm going to hop right on over to goal 4. Goal 4, again, in a bit of transparency, this was not one of the recommendations that came back from the board survey, but as we transplanted and evolved those recommendations into goals, we decided internally that we should add this in as a goal. Really, you know, maybe in case a partnership doesn't work out, or, you know, just to be prepared for anything that might come our way, is really focusing on, you know, financial sustainability and our capacity building, or our ability to, you know, to operate with our capacity. So the first is really looking at our revenue and diversifying that revenue. So doing an assessment of our current funding sources, identifying those most significant funding sources and their potential vulnerabilities. For example, right now, Give Local York is obviously our largest project, our largest program. So making sure we're taking a look at that, looking at trends, identifying any potentials for those vulnerabilities or things that might be changing that we want to make sure that we're aware of. Allocating targeted percentages or ranges for each revenue source to make sure that we are creating a balanced portfolio. So again, maybe not falling too heavily on the Give Local York basket and making sure that we are taking a look at everything that we've got going on inside White Rose Leadership Institute. Focusing on establishing long-term relationships. So moving into potentially recurring donors, multi-year grants, these ongoing partnerships beyond a year-by-year case. And then the fourth is to potentially explore a legacy or endowment program funding. We have been very grateful to receive support from Mr. Pulo, who has endowed the organization with a gift that has gotten us started in this area here. So there is the potential that we could focus on that and invite other supporters to join Mr. Pulo in his lead gift in that endowment. So that's an area right now where we have Explore down because we don't know what that might look like, but that's an area we'd like to focus on. And then our second objective under this column is community building. So identifying our most critical projects or initiatives and allocating our resources to those areas strategically. Explore shared services agreements with other nonprofits for administrative functions. I mentioned that, we're a staff of 2, and there is a lot of administrative work that goes into running a nonprofit organization, even if it is a staff of 2. So a lot of my time is spent, doing that back end stuff. And so potentially that's an area where we could find some relief and some capacity building with shared services. Or consider outsourcing non-core functions like our accounting, HR, or specialized tasks. And then the fourth under this capacity building piece is to explore if there are grants specifically aimed at capacity building or operational support to help us in these efforts. And that is the fourth task under goal 4. So I'm going to zoom out so I can sort of bring all of this up again for people to take a look. But that is the snapshot of the plan for the White Rose Leadership Institute and what we've already been working on and what we're continuing to work on as we, do our thing. But I'm happy to answer any questions or get into more detail on anything specific. I know that was a very top level overview. Or if you have, something where you'd like a deeper conversation, you're welcome to reach out to me as well if you don't want to talk about it here on the Zoom. But I'm happy to open up any questions or comments.
So Megan, this is awesome. This is great, very comprehensive. I know that you've talked about partnering with other organizations in the community, and can you just sort of describe what you're thinking long-term that could evolve into for White Rose Leadership Institute?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's helpful to have the context of how White Rose Leadership Institute was started to also then kind of understand where we are right now. So I had mentioned that this all kind of started with the York Federal Fellows Program back in 2006. And over the years of fellows going through that program, some of those nonprofit leaders, had said, hey, we're a really, powerful and impactful group here. Maybe there's something we could do together to help our community. And it was really that group that decided to take on the Give Day here in York County. So Give Local York, in its initial year, I was hired sort of as a contract 6-month person to pull off the Give Day. We used a fiscal sponsor for our first year heading into it. So Give Local York was really a program that had sort of grown on its own. And then after 2 years of successful Give Days, we realized maybe we should, house this under our own organization. So the 501c3 of White Rose Leadership was established. And then at that point, we took York Federal Fellows under that umbrella as well. So we have two very strong and sort of legacy programs under the White Rose Leadership Institute right now. But there's not much sort of depth or meat in between them. So what we're kind of looking at right now is of these two programs, York Federal Fellows and Give Local York, are there ways that we can, beyond our internal capacity, help push them out into the community to help them be supported and bolstered up, and sort of elevate it to a level that we have not been able to, given our our operational capacity and what we've sort of seen in our abilities to fundraise to support those operations. And as I mentioned, there are organizations doing very important work that aligns with ours in the community. So, for example, Leadership York obviously is our sort of premier signature leadership development organization. Is there a way for us to work with them and utilize their resources and their amazing programming to benefit the York Federal Fellows program? So right now, for example, like I manage the York Federal Fellows program, and I also am the executive director of the entire organization, and I run support for our Give Day coordinator as we head into Give Day here in the next 2 weeks. So obviously, at least in my opinion, Leadership York could do a way better job of managing the York Federal Fellows program than I currently am able to. So are there ways that we can sort of work with them to position that program safely within their sphere of knowledge? And similarly with Give Local York, obviously we have some amazing organizations here that are doing big things when it comes to community-wide fundraising and engaging with donors. So is there a way that we can sort of bring all of those forces together and really sort of have a very strong picture then of who is giving in York County and what are they giving to? In my sort of perfect vision, I would love to see a big collaboration. Oops, sorry, lost my earbud there. Would love to see a big collaboration of all of these organizations coming together, sharing information and strategizing across the board. But I think we're in very early phases. Some great leadership transitions. We're in a period right now where it does feel like there's a lot of energy around some of these partnerships and these conversations, specifically coming off the heels of that, the research study that was presented by Sang-Froid that was really encouraging collaboration, a focus on leadership development, a focus on advocacy. So I think that we are, no one knows potentially what this could look like, but it seems like there's a lot of energy and openness around trying some things out and finding ways that we can start sort of partnering together. Great. I know that's vague, but we're in a very vague kind of position right now. And like I said, we're just kind of like putting our flag up to be like, hey, we're open, come and chat with us, because we'd love to find ways to be able to take, this platform that we've built and apply it for much bigger things, for bigger impact, for all of the county. Thanks, Jackie. And I'll point out Jackie Summers is a new board member to White Rose Leadership Institute. Brand new. So we appreciate you hopping on today. Thank you. Any other questions for the good of the group? I want to be respectful of time. I know I just put in half an hour there, but again, if you have anything specific you'd like to discuss or any questions you have, please feel free to hit me up, shoot me an email, text me, call me, and I'm happy to chat about it with you. But I'm excited for Give Day, which is coming. I'm excited for White Rose Leadership Institute's strategic plan, and I'm excited for our community because there's a lot of really great conversations happening right now, and a lot of sort of energy around coming together to benefit York County. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I don't want to keep you past our time. Really appreciate you. And again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.